triggered this. Over the weekend, there was a major awards, and our ministers were awarded. Many of them were there themselves. They celebrated it. Some sent delegations, but it has generated a significant controversy. Jubilee House, the presidency itself, the president has directed a statement to be issued tonight. For that to happen, signed by the president's own executive secretary, tells you that it is such a serious matter that the state now has decided to intervene and direct all public servants. Once you are appointed by the president and you serve at the pleasure of the people, you cannot participate in any of these awards. It tells you that it is serious enough for us to pause and consider what is happening, right? And then the fundamental question that really generated the controversy was, for those who won the awards, do they actually even deserve it? And one of the individuals who won the awards will join us for a conversation on this, and whether they themselves feel that that award that they got is reflective of the job that they've done as seen and experienced by us, the people they serve, right? So we'll get into that. But then another issue then crops up. We learn this from the CEO of SIGA, who then tells us that apparently he was asked to pay 50,000 cedis after he was written to and told that he has been nominated as the best performing CEO. He then asked his team to query a bit more and to ask questions about the basis for the award. And then he was then told that apparently there's a sponsorship package and he needs to pay 50,000 cedis for that. And then he was also then told that once he's done that and is coming to receive the award, he may have to also cough up 25,000 for a dinner table, because he's not going to go alone. For a table of 8 people, he's probably going to go with his better half and a team from the SIGA. And all of that is part of the industry. There's a way for the organizers, obviously, to cover their costs, to make some profit on top of putting this together. So he then gave us an insight into what happened when this particular award was organized over the weekend. And this was a letter he received, and then this is what prompted him to ask the questions, because he was told that he should confirm his attendance on or before a particular date to enable the organizers then finalize the seating and protocol arrangements. For confirmation of further details, please then contact, and the secretariat was provided for him to reach out. Now, the organizers have a statement, and it's fair to pull their side of the story out, and they are clear that SIGA was approached, yes, but they were approached solely as an institutional partner. Because, as they say, the awards have never been conditioned on payment. So he wasn't nominated, according to the organizers, because they wanted him to pay. He wasn't nominated because they wanted SIGA to cough up money. It was because they say he's earned it, and they explained because SIGA obviously is sort of the supervisory agency for the SOEs, and they believe that, of course, was the place to go in terms of exploring a partnership, right? And it was nothing to do with the funds. And they make the very important point that over the period that they've done this and organized the awards, it's not about sponsorship. It is just about an individual's excellence in the service of the people, right? That is a statement that they've issued. Whether you believe them or not is a different question. They were expressing what the convictions are behind the invitations that they send, including the one to the SIGA boss. And you go into the history then. So this is not new. It's not new. And they reference that in the statement. Because you have to go back to 2021, 15 former and current ministers were awarded. And so this is not new at all. It just recently that has generated a lot of controversy. Also because of what is happening in Greater Accra. People experience a lot of floods and demolitions of buildings that have been left there. Authorities have just gone to bed on the job. We've seen the collapsing of some of the infrastructures. And then you have some buildings in the Greater Accra. And then you have the Greater Accra Regional Minister then awarded the Best Performing Regional Minister. People then raise questions about it. It's part of the reason why this has become controversial. Then it was the 5th edition. More ministers were awarded, and then what we're currently witnessing, which has generated this controversy. But it's a good thing, because this is not just about this specific awards, the Ministers of State Excellence Award. It's a problem that has been there for a long time that needs addressing. right? And so my guests will join me with a conversation because there are bigger issues here. For example, we'll ask some of them, the monies that these state agencies and their CEOs are paying by way of sponsorship, by way of tables, is it the taxpayers' funds that they are paying or their personal funds? Because, so you have to ask the question. So the CEOs who got awarded, did they pay the 50,000? And if they did so, was it from their allocation from the 2026 budget that they used? That would be my funds, my hard-earned money that has been taxed that goes to that CEO is what was used to pay. And have they really earned it? Have we seen the benefits of what they've done in our lives to say they warrant that recognition? And if you look at the illustrious list of individuals who have earned, I'm not using the word properly, who have received the award, because the question about earning it is a whole different ballgame altogether. Look at them. It's a really strong list of individuals in the past who have received it, and they cherished the time that they received it. Their names are there on the board for you to see, from the former education minister to then later the energy minister, Julius Debra himself has received before Michael Quay. So this is something that has happened in the past. So what's the fuss then? Why is this becoming an issue? My guests will weigh in pretty shortly. And then we saw the statement from the presidency signed by the president's executive secretary. And it was clear. The directive is very emphatic. The CEOs, the political appointees, they should refrain from participating in this. They cannot sponsor it. They cannot attend unless they have the express permission of the office of the president. That is firm indeed. But it also raises additional issues of the integrity of public service, which for me is very important, but also how this then exposes the government to criticism and embarrassment, but also how we assess the performance of our ministers. And these private organizations filling a gap, because we, the people, are often left in the dark about how the ministers that are appointed on our behalf are assessed, and the criteria we use to assess them, how they are kept in their position or disappointed or dismissed from that position. We often don't know. We often don't know even the KPIs they are working by and how we are measuring them. What is measurable is such a myth when it comes to, such a vague concept, when it comes to public office here in Ghana. And so then you have agencies, private, who then come up with their own criteria to assess these individuals on their behalf. And they're filling a very important gap, and we'll expand on that. Maybe there's a use there, right? And so Callistus in his statement attempts to address this, because he says to us for the very first time that very clearly the president is planning to do a thorough, comprehensive review of the performance of his appointees. And that will determine whether you are retained, whether you're reassigned, or whether your entire ministry is restructured. And then he tells us something also very important, that the criteria for the assessment will be the tangible outcomes delivered, prudent management of public resources, which is key, and then implementation of government policies. So these three issues will then form the basis of an assessment. And he says it will touch cabinet ministers, and that if you fail in delivering on these three, we don't expect you to hold your position in cabinet. That is significant. And that there is an indication there that even the president acknowledges that there's a gap there that has cropped up. And so some individuals think we need to assess them. So the best minister for this is based on a comparison with other ministers. And today we've seen the statement issued by the organizers of this Best Ministers Award that their criteria that they use, excellence in public service, etc. So they're using as a criteria. Whether you like it or not, they have something. And the ministers believe, and those who went there and celebrated and went with their wives and team members felt they've earned it. It is a verdict on how well they've done, and so they went to receive it. But isn't there a bigger question here about how we assess our ministers? And this is so opaque, and we're not kept in the loop. And so there is that need, and this is throwing this conversation up, and we'll keep this and hold the government responsible and accountable for the things that they told us in this letter that was issued today. So we are waiting to see how this will play out in those who are kept and those who are fired. But there are key unanswered questions. Some of them I've asked already. There's also the funding. Will any of the investigations be concluded on who spent what and how they spent it? Because if 50,000 of my taxpayers' money was spent on this, I need to know, right, how much of that went in and whether that was tied or not to the awards they received. The organizers say it hasn't nothing to do with it. And then what will happen to the officials who did so, who spent the taxpayers' money on this matter? That hasn't been resolved yet. My guests will join me. The big governance questions that this raises is not, yes, the sensational issues around the awards and what ministers deserve. It is important. But let's have a conversation about how we assess our public officers and what this does to the integrity of the office they hold, but most importantly, how they deliver in a manner that is transparently assessed and measurable in serving you. My guests after this.
My name is Pamela from Customer Service. Please revalidate your account by texting your Ghana card number to 0500,000 247.
Hey, Abili, wabidim.
Madam, give me the numbers behind your ATM card. I'm calling from the head office.
An email was delivered across to our customers this morning.
Confirm if this is your bank account. 100,100,100.
Thanks for sending your bank card details.
Send the OTP now to avoid cancellation.
EcoBank will never call, email, send an SMS asking for your PIN, OTP, bank card, or Ghana card details.
Don't get played. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Hello, please, I'm calling from Customer Experience Center.
Another week is here on the greatest of all time show. My name is Giovanni Clip, and tonight we're bringing you talent. Contestant number one, let's bring Baby Girl. Let's bring. You did it for you.
Cut. Oh, there is a leakage.
Where's the plumber? For quality and durability, insist on Syntex pipes.
If you want quality, this be where you belong.
Strong, tough, and reliable. Your perfect match to your trusted Syntex pipe. Syntex pipe, it dey carry water, no wahala. Syntex pipe, it dey make water dey flow. Syntex, and you're strong, and you're tough.
And he tee up someone in red, and he goes to
That's who goal you for.
I got 5 Champions League. You want to know?
I be the real goal, chairman.
Who is the GOAT? Ghana Jollof or Nigeria Jollof?
Ghana Jollof has no co-equal. The smell alone. Oh my God.
No, that shift. You two they lie, eh? Now the same stew when they use cook the rice and then they go put them for top.
Hey! You are lying. Ghana Jollof.
Are you busy? Forget everybody. Yeah.
My guy,
Put some respect on the goat.
on the goat. The only goat I know lives in Tama.
Every year we dey give to you back.
We are talking about PET. I want some Yaji face.
Except be the goat, huh?
My guy, him be the goat.
Though our choice of goats may differ in football, music, and jollof, Alumo Bitters always brings us together. Alumo, experience greatness in every moment.
Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18 and recommended to pregnant women. This advert is FDA approved.
Another week is here on the greatest of all time show. My name is Giovanni Clip, and tonight we're bringing you talent. Contestant number one, let's bring Baby Girl. Let's bring. You did it for you.
Cut. Oh, there is a leakage.
Where's the plumber? For quality and durability, insist on Syntex pipes.
If you want quality, this be where you belong.
Strong, tough, and reliable. Your perfect match to your trusted Syntex pipe. Syntex pipe, it dey carry water, no wahala. Syntex pipe, it dey make water dey flow. Syntex, and you're strong, and you're tough.
Can it tee up someone in red? And it goes to
That's who goal is for. What 5 Champions League? You want to know? I be the real goat. Chairman.
Who is the GOAT? Ghana Jollof or Nigeria Jollof?
Ghana Jollof has no co-equal. The smell alone. Oh my God.
No, that shift. You two they lie. Now the same stew when they use cook the rice and then they go put them for top.
Hey! You are lying. Ghana Jollof.
Are you here? Forget everybody. Yeah.
My guy.
Put some respect on the goat.
On the goat. The only goat I know lives in Tama.
Every year we dey give to you back.
We are talking about BET. I was in your face.
Except be the goat, huh?
My guy, him be the goat.
Though our choice of goats may differ in football, music, and jollof, Alomobitus always brings us together. Alomo, experience greatness in every moment.
Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18 and recommended to pregnant women. This advert is FDA approved.
Cadbury Hot Chocolate. Crafted from cocoa, milk, and sugar. Creamy, chocolatey, frothy goodness, rich taste, so satisfying.
Cadbury goodness, the treats you deserve every day.
Now let me tell you why you should choose Safari Valley as your conference destination.
The new conference building combines modern amenities with the tranquility of nature, providing the perfect backdrop for your next seminar and corporate retreat.
The only conference destination with so
And thank you very much for staying with us here on PMX. This is always brought to you by Syntex Tanks. It is strong, it is tough. Also brought to you by Pepsodent and Cavity Fighter toothpaste, and also by Stanbic CIB. And my guest joining me for a conversation tonight is Franklin Cudjoe, who, as you know, is a friend of this show. He is the president of Imani Africa. Thank you very much, Franklin, for your time here on the show. Also joining me is Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, who is Executive Director of CDD. I'm grateful to have him also join us. Also joining us for a conversation is Lateef Abubakar, is the CEO of the Ghana Business Summit Expo and Awards. Also joins us because he's an organizer of a very prestigious awards indeed. I want to understand basically what goes into these awards and how they process it and what the feedback has been on the back of what we've seen today. We're expecting to be speaking to the Greater Accra Regional Minister, who has agreed to join us. So one of the beneficiaries who won the awards, who won the awards that they just ended awards over the weekend. And thank you, gentlemen, for your time here on PMSs. And Professor Prempeh, I want to start with you. I noticed that over the weekend when this happened, you've written quite a bit about this on your page. First, what are the key issues for you on the back of this award? What for you was an issue, was a challenge?
Good evening. Thank you for being on the show. So there are a number of issues, and I think you did flag a few of them in your introduction. I found actually your reference to the gap filling function that this might be performing quite interesting. I think it's an important point also that should be noted in this conversation. And I have to, begin by saying that I do not think that we are trying to delegitimize awards per se, right? Or trying to basically collapse the so-called awards industry or vanity awards industry. I think certain awards are okay if a minister is recognized by, say, his or her alma mater for bringing them honor by being appointed a minister, for example. Maybe that's the first minister from a particular school or the first minister from the school to hold a certain position. That's fine, right? And I think sometimes too, for particular discrete acts that are acts of exceptional heroism, exceptional display of integrity or something, I could see how an organization without commercial interests could honor a minister or a public officer for a particular exceptional act, very specific. What we are talking here, however, what we are dealing here with is a situation where you have ministers of state who, under our system, the entire executive authority of the state or the republic is vested in the president and the president alone. The president parcels out some fractions of that authority to certain individuals and designates them as this or that minister to execute that fractional part of his constitutional and political mandate. They do so also entirely at his pleasure. So from the get-go, these people have a solo principle, and that includes actually even the vice president. The Constitution does not split the executive power even between the president and the vice president, just the president. So all of these ministers, from cabinet to other ministers, have a solo principle to whom they are answerable. And in my view, it is for that principle and that principle alone to determine which one of those ministers has executed their task or their assigned responsibilities with excellence as to merit an award of the kind we're talking about. So I think that when you have a scheme of this kind, it carries a risk sometimes of undermining ministerial answerability or accountability to the principal, which is the president. So assuming, for example, that the president, probably contemplating a reshuffle, on the eve of that decision, is met with an award designating a particular minister as the best minister. Meanwhile, that minister may well have been on the cutting block, on the president's cutting block, right? By the president's own internal standards and benchmarks and other things, this minister was probably going to be given the axe. And all of a sudden, we have a third party with some private or whatever interest promoting this person as the one who, in their view, is the best minister, right? Complicates presidential decision-making around personnel, managing the president's personnel, and who to move here and there. So there is that one about the individual minister. Then there's also the issue, I think, about collective responsibility. You know, ministers, even though appointed to particular roles and assigned particular roles, deliver on a mandate collectively, which flows from the president and also terminates with the president. Right? So there is this idea of collective responsibility. There's a sense in which the ministers must work together as a team to deliver on the mandate of the executive, of the president. And so a certain element of teamwork is necessary for this to actually be successful. And when you begin to throw these kinds of perverse incentives that cause one or the other minister or some other ministers to begin to pursue solo projects in order to get personal glory, you can also undermine the teamwork that is at the foundation of this principle of collective responsibility, right? So both at the individual accountability level between the minister and the president, and also at the collective level of the cabinet and other ministers, I think these kinds of awards can create perverse incentives and can undermine the president's ability to properly manage his or her team. So from the governance perspective, that is where I would begin. But actually, I think you do put your finger on an important point, which is, aren't they filling a gap? Isn't the market filling a gap, right? So the markets are very good at identifying sometimes state failure and filling that gap with a product that appears sometimes to address this issue. So up until this point, we have not quite known. It's not been known to us. Ghanaians, we have a tradition of reshuffles and all of those kinds of things, but Ghanaians have not quite known on what basis ministers are assessed, if they are assessed at all, what tools are used for the assessment, what regularity, how frequently this is done, and that kind of stuff. So it may well be that in the midst of this void, of this vacuum, the market, the awards market, has emerged to supply some kind of evidence or data by which we can rank ministers. We human beings, and I think you really just put it quite excellently in your introduction, in your intro. This is a common human kind of thing. We like to feel recognized, and they've tapped into that. But I think it does also then raise the question, what as government, what is the basis? We are not even asking the basis upon which these people are picked. That's already one question. We know some of that. But when they are in a particular office, how do we assess them? What are their KPIs and all of those questions that you raised? And it might take this kind of, mini scandal or whatever to actually put that question on the table. And I find it interesting that I just learned on your program that, in fact, the presidency has responded.
And I would like to read that to you, Prof. I'd like to read that to you because you are absolutely right. If this scandal hadn't happened, we wouldn't have known a few things. One, that the president intends to do a comprehensive review, and that his potential reshuffle was actually going to be based, and in my history of covering politics in this country, I've never known that a reshuffle was actually influenced by a review. But I want to read it, the exact words of Callistus in this statement, and I'll bring in your friend and colleague, Imani Franklin Kujo, into the conversation. He says, government remains focused on delivering on its commitments to the people of Ghana. The true measure of the performance of ministers and chief executive officers is the extent to which they fulfill the policy objectives, programs, and sector-specific targets outlined in 1, the 2024 National Democratic Congress Manifesto, 2, the government's agenda, and 3, the performance indicators agreed upon with their respective supervising authorities. So apparently there is KPIs that we didn't know about, but they are there. So he mentions that. It says 6, accordingly, ministers and chief executive officers are reminded that their performance will be assessed based on 1, tangible outcomes, measurable impact, effective service delivery, prudent management of public resources, and the successful implementation of government policies and programs. So there are 4 sets of criteria that they're going to use, which is 1, tangible outcomes, measurable impact, effective service delivery, prudent management of public resources, 5, resources, and successful implementation of government policies and programs. And then the bit that is interesting. His Excellency, the President, wishes to emphasize that in due course, the presidency will undertake a comprehensive review of the performance of ministers and chief executive officers. The findings of this review shall constitute a key basis for decisions relating to retention in office, reassignment of responsibilities, and any future cabinet or executive restructuring. Franklin, give me your reaction to these.
Well, good evening, Prof. I need to show my face a little bit. And then, so good evening, Prof. Good evening, everyone. This is an interesting conversation. I think, for me, I don't know what to say, but look, maybe these are what organizers decided that they'll do the work of the president for him and probably give him the rubric to decide who will be in and out of his government. But of course, as you just Prof said, I mean, there's this vacuum that ought to be filled. I mean, there have been many organizations, as I recall, even us, right, Mania, there was a time when we decided that we were going to do something called the Inspirational Public Sector Leadership Awards. Well, we always stopped because somehow we felt, even though it was qualitative, right, what were we looking for? For instance, we were looking at a 3-pronged criteria. We looked at the independence of the institution. And I think that at the time, the question we asked was, has the institution demonstrated significant independence on the central government, for instance, to the extent that its resulting autonomy has shielded it, at least to a reasonable extent, from the arbitrary will of partisan-minded politics? You know that sometimes politicians go out of their way to look and sound independent. We thought that was a good enough metric to determine who was inspirational or had performed. The second one was public engagement. Again, whether the institution, the leader, has demonstrated, probably actually avoided easy and convenient propaganda and focus on just providing information that to the general public that we thought was useful, timely, accurate, thoughtful, and reliable. For the purpose of addressing what challenges the institution wants to address, and of course its performance. The third one, of course, was whether whatever the institution does or the leader does, at the end of the day, whether there was a promise of transformation. And of course, here what it actually means is that, well, whatever the leader does by showing independence, not necessarily of thoughts, but of actions, and then also engaging the public properly, whether all of these things he or she does actually leads to transformation. And if it does, then we thought we would have gotten our noble, Inspirational Public Sector Leadership Awards. And let me just tell you, though, that in 2010, when we did this, I recall that, let me just get that now. And I recall that in 2010, when we did this testing, I recall, who came up tops? Tell me. It was the late Vice President Kwesi Bakuya when he was governor of the Bank of Ghana. I mean, this was a short thing we wrote at the time. We thought the governor impressed us with his conduct of affairs of Monetary Policy Committee in particular, though there is evidence that other aspects of the bank's work, such as banking inspection, have also improved. Despite pressure from the political forces to go beyond moral suasion in compelling the banks to reduce interest rates, the governor has been unwavering in going where the evidence leads. Diplomatically, he has rebuked the government to pay the contractors and stop dithering. Since this has an effect on non-performing loans in the system and by extension lending rates, in the words of Friedman, we are market guys. In the words of Friedman, inflation everywhere is a monetary phenomenon, right? End of quote. What this quote means in this context is that the governor's conduct of monetary policy has more than contributed to the era of stable inflation and stable national currency. You recall in 2009, you remember Mr. Test time, people did not notice, but these were the things he was dealing with. And I recall those times we had a meeting with him, and he was telling me, well, the minister thinks otherwise, and he thinks otherwise as well. And you know who the minister was at the time. I won't have that before. Now, so you see, so this is what we thought of him, right? So what do you see? Some sort of independence of thought. He clearly wants to be led by evidence. He'd say, well, whether you're persuading me to reduce interest rate, I'm not interested. I want to go after the evidence, right? And then he says, pay your debt, pay your contractors. How many governors have you seen doing that? Well, maybe I'm beginning to see something like that in Pandit's, the current governor, by the way. But he needs to be a bit more out there so that we can put him on that wavelength. But look, So this is criteria we thought made, but this was qualitative, right? We didn't go out there. Actually, what we did here was that we looked at policy documents, national reviews, all over the place, and we came up with this 3-pronged criteria because it's really hard to beat. But the only issue is that you have to go through a whole lot of, should I call it, the leadership before you come to this. We started on 5, by the way. So we had 5 good ones and 5 worst performing ones. But we just didn't say worst. We said, oh, they didn't appeal to us naturally.
And you showed us, I remember that you showed us the evidence that informed your decisions around who is best and who isn't, and the criteria, but also the work that went into it. The difference between what you did and what we're seeing now is obviously nobody knows what the criteria is, and then there is also the exchange of the money, which we learned from Pastor White today. 50,000, 20,000, and then you go and then you either you are doing a sponsorship or you're buying a table for your people. That is where the challenge is, you know.
Well, exactly the point. I mean, when we did this, of course, we were not interested in, I'm not sure we wanted to collect money. But can I just read the second and third guys? The very brief ones, just to
absolutely.
Just to solidify what I call the methodology. So our own risk. What's the guy's name? What's Nick's nickname again? Rick Ross, right?
Yes, remember? Rick Ross, the Great Accra mayor at the time.
He was the second one, and this is what we said. After a number of false starts, the mayor quickly settled into the hot seat of managing the affairs of the country's most politically sensitive city. We were unimpressed in the early months of his administration, especially during the botched decongestion exercise. And we still have a few unresolved policy differences with him about the right approach to urban planning. The jury is still out there, though, on his sanitation policy, which some have interpreted as a get-some-lion strategy, and also on his other advertising directives. But the mayor is fast learning to focus the energies of the assembly on the big picture. His symbolic rates on government agencies in the pursuit of property rates, arrears, and his optimistic cutting of Jeffrey Sachs' Millennium City. Remember those times, Millennium City, the initiative, our testimony to a determination to transform how a city management is done in Ghana. He has refrained from involving himself in petty partisan squabbles and maintained a balanced posture with respect to Accra's many chieftaincy and other sectarian fault lines. He wants greater devolution of power from the central government to the towns, regions, and he has even begun developing investment plans for some of the most challenging sectors under his jurisdiction. The results are yet to fortune, but this was what compelled us to name him number 2. As we go, I'll probably read the third one. Another a very interesting man, the chief psychiatrist. If you want me, I'll read that shortly, but if you want, we can go to other people as well.
No, I mean, so that gives us a sense of what's different between that sort of qualitative, diligent work based on research, and it comes back to the question I was asking. What you were doing was trying to help the public on whose behalf they were serving to sort of appreciate the work. So you've taken your time to do diligent qualitative research on the work that they've done to deliver on public expectations. Right. Stuff that the appointing authorities have failed to do, right? And we didn't know at the time how they were performing. We didn't know. We could feel the impact of either their excellence or lack of on our lives. But then as a think tank goes and does the work and then decides who is best and who isn't. It comes back to the point that Prof was making earlier and where we are now with Callisto's statement that clearly, as Imani was filling a gap then, it's the gap that the organizers of the awards are trying to fill with this with these, host of awards too.
And can I ask a question though? I mean, and maybe there's a gentleman on the show, by the way.
Yes.
Gentleman. I know some of this. By the way, this our qualitative approach. We decided to transit, and somehow maybe that's how we got bogged down because we wanted people to be more involved, wanted to interview people. We felt that. Let's have some democracy. But when we started doing that, it meant you need to be your measurement must be clear and concise. For instance, if you decided to choose, let's say, a theme for a particular year, let's say effective leadership. What constitutes effective leadership? You then need to narrow down. Do you mean ministries that respond timely to their emails, for instance? Is technology part of it? You have to be very, very exhaustive. And so when I listening to the conversations this evening, by the way, I had a good laugh. But everybody has got his motivations for doing this. I mean, the gentleman says it's a ministerial award.
Yeah.
And so presumably ministers is what his focus is. But in that instance, you need to have a rubric. You need to be careful, thoughtful, and ask yourself, if you name these persons as you have named them, there must be some write-up to back it. I mean, look, I'm not saying we are perfect or anything, but the time we did this stuff, I mean, people were so happy. They were like, we can identify. Zoom Lion, Nanbo staff were named. The Shraj, even at the time, 2010, was an excellent organization. And then, so you could see, but then even then, we decided that, look, that was not enough. We wanted to now do qualitative measurement. And maybe that was why we got bogged down. And then we decided that, hey, by the way, we are looking for money to go do that work again.
So maybe
If I might chime in here,
yes, please, Prof.
I think it's really great because I'm happy that Franklin went back to that because I think I had some faint recollection that Imani had ventured into that at some point. And there's a difference, and I think it's important that you noted it too, that, there is substantial informational content to what Imani was doing. And it's helpful to a principal, actually, to get that perspective on his or her appointees. Imani wasn't just trying to dole out, which is why there's a difference. One is called Vanity Awards, and it's partly because we don't know. There's a lot of opacity around the evaluation. What's the methodology? What's the criteria? What is also the capacity, the locus of that organization to even do that, right? Is it a commercial interest? So the commercial interest part is important. But what Imani was doing was giving you very detailed assessment. We at CDD do a 1-year assessment of every new government.
Yeah.
We used to run the district league tables where we would do a comprehensive assessment of all the districts, right? And then basically rank them on very public service delivery benchmarks and all other criteria. So these kinds of parallel evaluations and assessments are very important and actually provide important data and information for the principal, in this case, the president, whose appointees these people are. So it's not, which is why in the initial, my opening remarks, I said, we're not trying to paint all of that evaluation with a broad brush and say, no, all of that is illegitimate, right? But this particular kind is feeding into an industry that has emerged, which is into this whole award mania and, where public officers who should be minding important public business get distracted into these optics and are chasing after personal glory, the basis of which nobody understands and nobody is privy to. And then there is, of course, the pay-to-play aspect of it, where, if you give maybe a token contribution, and sometimes they may actually not even ask you for anything, but your mere presence also legitimizes the work they're doing and all of that. So I do think it is important that all of these issues be put on the table so that it doesn't appear that we're trying to delegitimize a particular industry, but we need to put it in proper perspective. And he also made the point that, look, this is not the first time So why is this time? What is the outrage about this time? It's important. And I think that it also speaks to where Ghanaians are, right? It speaks to a certain sense of just, we're tired of, a politics where appointees are basically in self-service, become obsessed with their own personal glory and the things they do. We are expecting reset, not replay. We don't want things to be done the same way. People are looking for results. Maybe the timing was also quite not very good for the Awodis, because everybody is looking at flooding in Accra, and we're not happy. We're not seeing results. Things are not going as people expect in terms of a reset. And then here you are, mounting podiums and in all kinds of costume and attire, going into all of these things. And again, it comes again the backdrop of things around funeral, grandeur, and a lot of things, right? So people are saying, look, you guys are in this business to serve us. This is why we threw one bunch of people out and brought you with a huge mandate, so that you can't give excuses that you are being blocked here and there in Parliament. We have given you plenty of mandate to fix the problems, and don't come here and be just obsessed with yourselves and your own personal glory and be doing these kinds of things. We want things done differently. So it may well be that this is not the first time. In fact, it is not, as you have indicated and shown the evidence from 2021. We've been doing this stuff, but now people are tired.
Yeah,
right? People are saying, "Look, no more of this vanity stuff. Right? Get the work done. This place needs fixing. We ain't seeing the fixing, and you are still on this same kind of trajectory, and we don't like that." I think that's the message this time around, that people are just tired of this same old stuff, right? And so if indeed the presidency has seen the signal, whether or not it was triggered by this or something they contemplated already, well, it's good that they have taken note of the public sentiment around this and are willing to go on a different track and are willing to do something different. Because I think people just don't like to see the same old things.
And we can now get some insights into the awards, because I have two gentlemen with me who will give us refreshing insights into how these awards are done in the wake of what has happened. Lateef Abubakar is the CEO of the Ghana Business Summit Expo and Awards. But I'm also delighted that I've been joined by Dr. Prince Imabomake. And he is obviously the founder of the awards in question, which has generated that fair bit of controversy on the back of the awards ceremony over the weekend. Prince, thanks for your time on PMSS. Do I have you on? Hello, Prince? Okay, we'll try and fix that. But I believe I have Abubakar with me. Hello, Lateef.
Hello.
Great, Lateef. Thanks to have you, Lateef. So you also have a very important awards ceremony. You also the Ghana Business Summit and Expo Awards. So how are you reacting, responding, reflecting on the conversation that has erupted since this latest Best Ministers Awards over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, at one point I'm a bit excited. At another point, I feel like, okay, they're tarnishing a very good industry that has a very great purpose across every sector in the world. I will first of all say, as a citizen and event organizer or awards organizer, I respect the president's directive, understand the need to ensure that the public officials focus on their core mandates and that public resources are used responsibly. That is what I look at. But then,
that's your award, just for clarity, does your award also give awards to public officers?
Yes, definitely. We have about 3 categories.
Okay.
That focuses on public officials. We have 3 categories out of the 30 categories. We have 3 that focuses on public organizations and individuals.
So what this directive means is that going forward, you will not have any public officer, as appointed by the president, participating.
I don't believe so. If you read the statement of the presidency, it doesn't say that they shouldn't participate. It talks about questionable award schemes. It talks about award schemes that doesn't have good governance structure.
Let me read it. Let me read it for the avoidance of doubt and for those who are joining us who want to understand the actual wording. It says here, His Excellency therefore directs that all ministers of state, chief executive officers of state institutions, and other political appointees refrain from participating in, sponsoring, endorsing, attending, or accepting awards from such organizations unless expressly authorized by the office of the president. And when it says such organizations, you go to the paragraph before that, it lays out the such organization. I want to read that for context. It says, in many instances, organizations conferring such awards are largely unknown to the public. So one, unknown. Their credentials are unclear. And no transparent, objective, or verifiable criteria exist for assessing the performance of public officials. So that is that category of organizations. Basically, is what is forbidding now. But then this is a very subjective matter, right? How can I tell that yours is different from what has been listed here?
Okay, so with award schemes, like Franklin rightly stated, there must be structures put in place. There must be a very good governance structure that at least would give some kind of hope and interest to organizations that are serious and focus mainly on rewards and recognitions of their staffs or their CEOs or their organization. For instance, I can speak for what we do. We always have a very structured approach for all our award schemes. We have an independent advisory board, which is the highest governing body for the awards, and they have a responsibility, which is to set standards and policies to ensure independence and credibility and oversee the entire award processes. This independent advisory board are constituted from, depending on the industry that we are talking about. If we are talking about the shipping industry, we make sure that we have people, experts from the industry. It can be retired experts within the industry, and so on and so forth. We also have an award secretariat. We also have an independent research team that focuses on background checks, review performance data, verifies achievement, produces assessment reports. The research team now feeds the information to the technical team, which does also the confirmation, auditing, and then submits information to the judge, the independent judging panel. Then finally, there's an auditing firm that audits the work of the judging panel before we even submit the information to the advisory board. So there are laid down procedures and there are clear criteria. So if I pick a category like a CEO of the Year award, I'm looking at information like financial performance, innovation, leadership, ESG, sustainability, social impact. So that will be the criteria for CEO of the Year. And we have every award category has its own criteria. And you go through a process of the research process. Then we have the panels, we have the technical committee, we have the auditing firm that audits whatever the other committees have done before it's submitted to the awarding board for confirmation. So more importantly also, we have a policy called a conflict of interest policy, meaning that if you are a nominee, you don't sponsor an award. You don't sponsor the event at all. So we don't take sponsorships from nominees when we are organizing awards. So because the conflict of interest plays a role. If you want to be taken serious, then you should make sure that you are very clear on that.
I see.
To us. So There are certain, the processes must be transparent, open, fair, accessible, well publicized, and then make sure that everybody understands what the criteria is. We try to limit human interface, so everything is done online to us. So for me, I believe strongly, just as there are several award schemes, recognized award schemes like the Oscars, like the Nobel Prize, and so on and so forth, it's all about the procedure, and that's what the presidency stated clearly. We need people. I believe when the paragraph you read focuses on institutions that have clear laid down procedures and structures, like Franklin stated. And once you have that, I have no doubt that you would get the necessary support from all stakeholders within the industry. We have been running the Ghana Business Award for 8 years now, and it's well structured, and we've never had any issues and problems with regards to that.
Stay with me, Lateef. I want to bring in Prince now, Prince McKay, who organizes the Ghana Ministers of State Excellence Honors, and that is the award that has generated this controversy. So, Prince, what really happened with the awards over the weekend? You've issued a statement explaining that your awards is, you have a clear criteria, and we put the statement up earlier, and that this is based on public service that is properly assessed. But the feedback from the public is that they don't believe that point, and that this was award ceremony basically designed to give out unearned awards to people who simply do not deserve it. What's your reaction to that? Prince, kindly unmute for me. Okay, we'll get Prince to fix that and shortly so he can join us. We can hear him on that, because he has a statement out today laying out the basis for the awards that we're giving. But as you've seen, it's trended quite a bit, and that has generated a controversy. The president has actually issued a statement on that, forbidding ministers and appointees from participating. Has that been fixed now? Can we talk to him? I want to bring in Lateef again. Lateef, whilst we fix the audio with him, the question about filling a gap. What inspired your organization, Lateef, to begin awarding ministers and public appointees to this particular category? Did you feel that? Why did you feel the need to do it? Why was it important?
I've always believed in rewards and recognition, and I believe that it's one key motivating factor for every human being. Once you are performing and you are being recognized, one, it motivates you. Two, it inspires other people. So for us, we realized that 8 years back or 9 years back, no, 10 years back, when we started planning towards the Ghana Business Summit Expo and Awards. In fact, it was a summit and expo. But we realized that there was a gap that needed to be filled.
What gap was this?
Pardon?
No, what gap was this? Yes, explaining.
The gap was basically who actually recognizes the efforts, the sacrifice, and contributions of individuals within our society. How do we inspire them, motivate them, or say a thank you to them?
Is it okay?
Please continue,
so you can hear me now?
I can hear you, yes, but hold on for me, please. Let me get Lateef to wrap up, and I'll come to you. Lateef, yes, you're making a point that you wanted to recognize them.
Yes, and the question is, how do you motivate people if they are doing well? How do you say thank you to them if they are excelling in whatever they are doing? How do you make them feel good to keep pushing forward? Those are the gaps that did not exist, that existed. And then we thought that we could put together a very good scheme that could help us achieve that.
So you simply wanted to motivate the public officers?
Not necessarily the public officers. Our award has primarily focused on private entities.
No, I get that's what the private. So if the private person decides to go and take awards, not a problem. The issue now is, but of course, the private people are within the society, so I get why that then spills over into public service. But I'm focused on the public servants who you award.
So
what was the motivation?
Our first 3 awards for the Ghana Business Awards was solely private.
Okay.
We had so much calls from a lot of public sectors and even Ghanaians, because sometimes there's a voting category. Why are we not recognizing Mr. So and so and Mr. So and so? Because the person has done A, B, C, D. Okay. People could send you a document defending the works of certain public officials. Sometimes not necessarily ministers. They might be departmental heads or civil servants, and people feel that this man has been able to achieve A, B, C, D. There was an engineer at Evans Road that was doing so well that I had about 3 different write-ups from this engineer. And we felt that such people needed to be recognized. It wasn't supposed to be we were not supposed to just recognize people within the private sector. But if people are excelling in general, that's why it's called the Ghana Business Awards, the Ghana Business Summit Exponent Awards. If people in general are excelling, and there are testimonies to that, and we can go through our process of validating those testimonies, why not?
Okay. Let's stay with me. Very interesting reasons there, getting into the mind of an awards organizer. But let me bring in Prince now. Prince, we lost you earlier because of the audio, but I understand that it's been fixed and I could hear you earlier. You were responding to the criticism that your awards have received, the Ghana Ministers of State Excellence Awards, which happened over the weekend. What's your response to the rebuttals you've received, or even on the back of your statement, that this was just a scheme that was cooked up just to make money of these politicians and appointees?
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you can clearly hear me.
Loud and clear, yes.
All right. Your voice is actually very low, so it's difficult for me to hear you, but I'll try to answer some of the questions that you asked me right now. Well, it's Big Events Ghana. We have been organizing awards for the past 17 years and over in this country. And we have been behind a lot of award schemes in Ghana that everybody knows about. We are not an institution or a company that is in doubt or has been hiding from the public to organize or any awards or a fake organization, all of that. We have been organizing the RTP Awards, the Radio and Television Personality Awards, the biggest media awards in this country for the past 15 years. We have been organizing the Impact Awards for quite some time now. We have also been organizing the Africa Gospel Awards, which is the biggest gospel awards in Africa. So we have, and then also the Ministers Awards that we are talking about. We have such a fleet of awards, and all of these awards are a very credible scheme. Now, what really happened? I must say on record that for the past 6 years that we've been organizing the Ghana Ministers of State Excellence Honors, we have never, ever received any form of incentive or any monies or whatever from any awardee or nominee. It's an honors. It's not a competitive award. What we do for the Ghana Ministers of State Excellence Honors, as the name suggests, is not a competitive award. It's honors. Over the past 6 years, we have gone ahead to honor prominent individuals in this country. Such personalities that I can even mention on top of mind are the likes of the very, Right Honorable Michael Aaron Okwe, the former Speaker of Parliament. We have also honored the likes of Dr. Akufo-Addo. We have honored the likes of Dr. Akufo-Addo. We have honored the likes of, the likes of Hakman Osu Ajiman, Ose Chebonsu, former, former Minister of
Parliamentary
Affairs. We have honored so many people, including Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, who was the last recipient of the Minister of the Year Awards. We have honored a lot of people, Honorable Kwame Bartels, and all of these people. So what actually is the problem? I'm talking about these personalities mounting our stage to receive awards, not sending anybody to come and receive awards on their
Prince,
behalf.
you asked a question. Let me ask you something about this recent awards. The Linda Oklu, the Greater Accra Regional Minister, you say she is the best regional minister. How did you arrive at that conclusion? What was the criteria that led you to award her the best performing regional minister?
All right, Evans, thank you very much. I wish I would have been given time to be able to take my time to build this. But if you want to move into one particular category.
That's important, so that we can understand, because that was really the heart of the controversy, right? So
yes, if
explain that.
You want to move into that particular category, it's not a problem. You can go into it.
Yeah.
Our indicators are very simple. We look at their strategic initiatives that they have taken, their leadership of reforms in their various ministries and their institutions. We also look at the crisis management capabilities and situations that they are faced of within the time under their tenure. We look at their stakeholder engagement. We look at the ability to drive institutional performances, their project completion exercises, the policy implementations, the service delivery, and more. Now let me narrow it down to Honorable Linda Obenewa Akweli Oklu that all of you are interested to know about. And here again, let me underline or let me mention the year under review for doing these awards. We stated categorically clear that the year under review was 2025 to May of 2026. So we look at the work that they have done within the space, and not now or in June that the rains have flooded, that we have this crisis that we are all complaining about the fact that she has not done anything to deserve the award. The timelines that we looked at these awards was between the period of January 2025 and May 2026. If you look at our Honorable Minister, Greater Accra Regional Minister, since inception from day one, she has been engaging, making sure that she will light up Accra, making sure that those who have built on Ramsar sites, she'll pull them down. And these are top influential people who had built on such sites. But she was tough enough as a woman. She was so tough to ensure that she did what she had to do. Had it not been for the rains that just came, I'm not sure that the story will be as we are saying it right now. And Evans, I must say, even America, with all their development, with all their resources, with all their technology, year in, year out, we hear issues of floods, issues of tsunami, issues of bush burnings and all over. These are natural disasters that it's not easy to control. I am not sure that Accra flooding will end today or tomorrow. And I'm not sure she is the only minister that has been in power that has supervised a tenor where floods, happen in this country or in the Greater Accra region. We have seen it many times, countless over. But how did we come to the conclusion that Honorable Linda Oklu should emerge as the regional minister for the awards? This is a woman who has been engaging from day one. This is a woman who called everybody together and said, how do we solve our problems? From day one, she knew that our biggest problem in Accra was what? The flooding. And they made sure that they took steps to assess the situation and see what, if they could mitigate it even before it happens. We all cannot say that we didn't see it. We didn't see when she was doing all of those things. We all cannot see that we didn't see her efforts. And here again, my brother Evans, in awarding her, we are not trying to say, or we are not seeking to say that she's perfect or she solved all problems in Accra. No, that is not what award schemes are meant to do. Award schemes don't go their way to say that we are awarding the person who is the most perfect person, because there's no perfection anywhere. As I mentioned earlier, America, with all their resources and technology and development, face these things, face these problems every now and then.
So you're saying the award
each and every year to ensure that they are able to keep the situation.
The award she received is Best Regional Minister. So you're saying that out of the 16 regional ministers, she's the best?
Yes. And there was a shortlist. It's not as if she was called as the person to receive an award. No, there was a shortlist.
Let's be a bit more specific. So you talked about her engagement, her desire to solve problems that the city is facing. Last year, we had floods in Accra. Last year, we had floods. In fact, the president then had to set up a unit at the Jubilee House to coordinate dealing with that problem. That unit is still there. There's questions about whether what the unit is doing is there. Accra is very, very filthy still. Accra is very filthy. Over the last year, you walk through Accra, you'll see the filth is still there. It's there. We see it. Everybody sees that. It's part of the reason why the drains are choked and we're having the floods again. She's been there for a year plus. We obviously have the street lighting issue. Yes, you drive to Accra, you've seen that they have procured more street lights. So that I see, we all experience that. That Accra is still very disorganized. And the people that she's serving are giving you feedback that there's no way on God's earth that she can be the best. Or you're telling us that in the land of the blind, she is of course the best among people who are all underperforming. And then that raises the question whether there is even a need to even award anybody for this particular category. How do you respond to that?
Well, what I can say is this, Evans. Accra is a very big region. Very, very big, with bigger challenges, more populated than any of the other regions. So to manage Accra in itself in the first place is no joke. Let us not try to wash that or make it look like the Honorable Minister hasn't done anything since she came. We have all seen from day one, pulling down structures to ensure that we avoid the situation of the flooding that we had. But look, these rains are natural disasters. Today, it could rain at a certain level. Tomorrow, you could rain at a limit to say, not controlled by anybody. It's not controlled by the honorable. It's not controlled by me. It's only controlled by nature and God. So if it happens that within this period, June 2026, the rains, which we know that the Meteo had even informed us that the rains were going to be more massive than any other year. Why then do we have to make it look like she has not done anything?
And because
what
of time, I just have 10 minutes wrap, and I want to get Prof and Imani's Franklin's in quickly. But there are
I don't know if you could let me land before.
Two quick questions to give an opportunity to respond to two quick questions. One is, why were you charging up to 50,000 CDs from those you had said or nominated to win awards? At least we read that in the Professor White statement that when he went around to investigate this, there was a 50,000 and a 25,000. That was, why were you charging that?
Thank you for that question. And I hope that you allow me to answer this question wholly and fully. We have never, I'm not even talking in terms of this particular edition. First of all, we had a very beautiful event. Very, very beautiful event. One of the biggest events that we ever had was held on Saturday. We had the King of Accra, His Royal Majesty King Taki, as the special guest of honor, the chairman for the occasion. It is not for anything that a personality like that will come and sit in as a chairman for a function like that. If he indeed has not done his checks about what we are doing, what we have done in the past and all. We have never taken any money. Since the inception of this scheme, we have never taken money from anybody. We have never sold tables to any awardee. The names that are mentioned, including even Professor Joshua Alabi, you could call them and verify from them whether we have ever placed ourselves to even say that they should do anything for us or in exchange for anything. And I told you already, it's an honest and not a competitive scheme. So before you are even coming to the award, you have been given a letter stating that based on our assessment by the technical committee and the board and then our researchers, you have been adjudged as the winner of the award. So you come in there knowing that you are picking an award. But let's ask ourselves, what really happened? We sent one of such letters to Professor Michael White.
Yes, sir. The name is
Then,
White,
on the 1st of, on the 1st of June, the event was held on the 6th of June. On the 1st of June, we wrote a letter, not to Professor White, and again, I must say, not to Professor White. We wrote a letter to SIGA, recognizing that SIGA is the mother body for these public institutions, where we're seeking to honor some of these CEOs. Instead of writing to the CEOs to say, let your organization sponsor, we said, let us go to the mother body and ask for sponsorship. And that was on the 1st. He received the letter on the 2nd. And then on the 3rd, somebody calls us and says, your letter came in late, requesting for a support. However, my boss has asked me to tell you that we cannot support because of the fact that it's a bit late. But does it mean that he is not going to take the award even though he's not supporting? And we said, no, the awards are not tied to the fact that you have to pay anything before you receive. And let me say again, prior to that, a week to that, Mr. Professor White had actually, amongst all the people who received letters from us, he was the only person who posted the letter that he was going to receive an award on a platform that a lot of people are on. And I have screenshots to show to that effect. Posted it that he was going to receive an award on this event at so and so date and at so and so place. And a lot of people on that platform congratulated him. It was a political platform that he was using to score political points. The Then when a lot of people congratulated him and he was saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, he woke up one morning realizing that his biggest competitor, being Honorable Linda Obiniwa Okulu, who had beaten him three consecutive times, had received the Best Regional Minister Award. So, oh no, this is not right. This is not good. I need to do something fast before this happens.
But Prince,
a moment, please.
An important point. I'll give you the time. I'll give you the time.
What is this citation?
The regional minister. What has that got to do with? Can you read the citation?
Evans, can you read the citation for your listeners?
No, I mean they see for themselves. Just a second, because we made an important point. How does the best performing regional minister compete with the best CEO? I mean, you mentioned that. I mean, those two.
No, I'm not saying that they competed together. I said that he realized that his competitor, whom he competes all the time at the parliamentary level, had won the Regional Minister of the Year award.
Jesus Christ!
And so
I don't understand.
Let me ask her before she becomes too popular.
I honestly don't understand that.
Because the reason I'm saying that is because when he received the award and he knew that he was not going to take the awards, he could have straightly written to us and said, I decline.
But he did that. He said he did that.
He never did that. He never declined to receive any award from us, but rather posted the letter on social media, on platforms for people to know that he was going to receive an award. It was only when Honorable Linda Okulu received her award and videos came out was when Professor White put out that statement.
I'm waiting.
By the way,
not before the event. This is his award. If indeed we said that we are not going to give him award until he pays, why would we do the awards for him? This is Special Awards Award. If indeed he had not paid for us to give him an award, why did we produce an award for him?
So there's
a whole lot of political twist to that many people don't know.
Okay, Prince.
It is not just about us, but we are rather suffering, just like the grass suffers when two elephants fight.
Prince, stay with me.
But politics has been played into it, and we are now suffering for all that we have done.
Prince,
and again, I've given you the names of people, prominent personalities that we have awarded.
Prince, stay with me, because thankfully, Professor White joins us on Zoom right now. He has further and better particulars on the matter, and I'm delighted to bring him into the conversation. Prof, your article, opinion piece today, shed light on a very important subject. It's obviously become a big national subject because the presidency itself, on the back of everything, has issued a very important directive and giving us greater depth and detail into what is going to happen. And so that clearly tells you is risen to the policy and presidency level. You've heard Prince, the organizer. What do you have to say about his denials that, basically this had nothing to do with the award they wanted to give you? He says you didn't indicate that you were not interested. Let me hear you.
Thank you very much, Evans. I hope you can hear me. And good
loud and clear, yes.
Good evening to Professor Prempe and my brother Franklin, and then also to Prince and your good self. I really hope and wish that we will have enough time. First of all, I also want to put this on record. Prince, unfortunately for you, all the conversations you have had with the staff from SIGA that did a due diligence check is recorded, where you said you needed 50,000 or 25,000 for a table is recorded. If you challenge that, it will become a matter of public.
Please you can put it out there. We requested for sponsorship.
Prince, allow him to make the point, and he was very quiet listening in. So I want him to fully make the points in response to the things you said about him. Yes, Prof.
So a letter dated 1st of June was dispatched to my office. I received it on the 2nd. As soon as I received the letter, I called some of my staff, as it were, to discuss it. And I said, we need to do due diligence first before we can respond. So I asked my office manager to call the number that was on the letter. The office manager called the number and came back and said, we need to do further digging. So I called the head of governance, risk and compliance, and he went down to engage his staff. And then he came back to say, you know what, I don't think this thing is something we should step into because there may be more questions unanswered. And I asked why. And they said, well, they added a sponsorship letter to the invitation, but when we engaged the young man further, he said, if you can't sponsor us, you could pay for a table of 8, and that costs 25,000 Ghana cedis. And I said, what is this? So I asked my staff, my office manager, can you call the young man in my presence? So my staff manager came to the office, called the young man. I said, can you ask him if the award is based on merit? He said it's based on merit. What are the criteria? He couldn't speak to the criteria. Then I said, can you ask him if I can come into that hall, not join any table, just go and perch in some corner somewhere. When it's my turn and they mention my name, I'll just walk to the stage, pick the award and go. And he said, no, that's not the case at all. The protocol of the event requires that you either sponsor and come, or if you are not sponsoring, you pay for a table of 8 people. And I thought that was quite weird. Now, my opinion piece was basically to raise awareness among my colleague appointees, because I have seen that in the last couple of months, this had become a common phenomenon all over the place. I mean, we've been in power for just 1 year, so I was getting a bit alarmed that people were being judged. I mean, best this, best that, and there is a way in which that can run into our head, and before you know, we start disappointing Ghanaians. So I thought that it was important to ring an alarm bell, and that's what I did. It was a harmless exercise. As a member of the government, I felt it was responsible that somebody raises the issue quickly, so that at least others who may be falling into the same trap might be able to avoid it. And frankly, after my opinion piece, a significant number of my colleagues have reached out and said, Chief, we didn't know that you also had the same this thing. We also had this and we declined. We also had this and we declined. And so it is only me who put out the opinion piece. But it appears many people had read through the lines and had also basically declined the offer. I will crave the indulgence of Prince to be less emotional about discussing this. Like I said, the telephone conversation between the staff in our office who did the due diligence and himself, unfortunately for him, I think the young lady's phone is on default recording. So it was only when the issue became controversial that it was brought to my attention. Now, after my opinion piece, he called again and threatened the staff and myself and everybody else in Siga that he's coming there to deal with us. That is also recorded and is on record. And Evans, you are in the media. I mean, you are a very senior person in the media. Joy FM is a very respectable station. I wouldn't want to make this up, and I wouldn't want to say I can bring a recording on air when I don't have it. I don't know what the legal ramifications are for that. But if he pushes another the issue is of public interest, we can make it available for people to discern for themselves.
Give me your reaction to the presidency's statement on this matter. What do you make of the contents there and the directive that has been given to all of you?
I think, first of all, it is important to commend the president for, acting quickly. I want to believe that without my opinion piece, the president would have acted anyways, and that it was important that he acted the manner in which he did. Because, to be honest with you, when the issue came up and I did the opinion piece, in the discussions on one of our appointees and party people platform, somebody did actually mention that it would be good to get some kind of the center to provide some directive or some this thing. And I recall responding to the person that, look, Masa, we shouldn't be bothering the center because sometimes we as individuals should be able to read between the lines. And at these kinds of awards, all you need is some small due diligence and you'll be able to fish out. You have your KPI at your office that you are working with within the year. Has anybody been to your office to collect data with the claim that they are going to do some assessment and that's the basis for which they are collecting the data? When anybody says we've seen somebody trying to stop flood or demolishing buildings or fixing street lights, and so therefore the person is a best minister, Ghana deserves better than this, Evans. Ghana does deserve. Those of us who hold public office, we hold it in trust for Ghanaians. We must be judged by higher standards than just the comments we make in the media. And that for me, and frankly speaking, I don't think that I deserve any award within just about a year of being in office. There are so many problems in this country, the reason for which we have been appointed. And the award for those things will be to see that the problems have been solved and Ghanaians are relatively better off. with that alone, we should be able to pat ourselves on the shoulder. But to be paying for applause and not denying that you didn't ask anybody to pay for anything, the records are there. I mean, the audio is there. It is his voice versus, the questions that were put to him during the due diligence exercise. And I believe that it will be in his interest that the things he's denying here now, he claws back on them, because the full audio can be played for him to come out and say whether this is him or this is not him.
And another big question I need to ask you, because also you're the SIGA boss, for your colleagues who, if indeed they paid, and Prince says it wasn't linked. It doesn't say, he's not saying that they didn't sponsor or buy a table. He says it's not linked to the award. But for those who spent money...
Evans, I said that nobody sponsored or paid for the award.
Okay, but...
I didn't just say that it wasn't linked to the award. I said nobody.
Okay,
no
but
single individual, no single award recipient ever paid for the award.
Okay.
No one.
But Prince, I need clarity on this. So you're saying that every single individual institution that won the award, none of them sponsored and none of them bought a table?
None of them bought a table. None of them sponsored.
Okay.
We have been in this industry, as I mentioned, for 17 years.
So you sponsored...
Evans, we've been organizing awards for many years, with companies supporting us over the years.
Again, Prince,
and over the period.
This is important. So this event that was organized, who sponsored it then?
Big Events sponsored, because as I mentioned to you, for the past 6 years, it's been Big Events running it, making sure that it happens. Because from day one, we knew what we wanted to achieve.
So Prince,
the people who are excelling within the space.
Prince, you mean that yourself, you use your own funds to organize the awards, to rent the place, and everything was by yourself. You didn't have any external sponsorship?
Evans, even with the RTP, the media awards, I still put in my own money to make sure it happens and it becomes successful. So I am used to putting in my own money to build a brand. Do you know why I do that? Because I know I am building a brand. It's a baby that was nurtured by the company. And if you have nurtured your own baby, and because nobody has come to sponsor, you say that the baby must die, it is your own cup of tea. But for me, I nurtured the baby from day one. The company nurtured the baby from day one. So we won't sit down for it to die because nobody is sponsoring us. If I have to work hard to pull monies from other areas that I do, other businesses that I do, to ensure that the event happens, I do it for future's sake. Because I know that in the future, the future will be bright.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, so for clarity, Prince, in your statement, you said that, quote, the Secretary of Federal wishes to clarify the recognition under the Ghana Ministers of State Excellence Honors is not and has never been conditioned upon financial support, sponsorship, or any form of contribution. No individual or institution is required to provide financial support in order to be considered for recognition, selected for an honor, or receive an award. Recognitions decisions under the honors remain independent of stakeholder engagements associated with the organization of the program, which is exactly the point I'm making. That you say here in very clear terms that you may sponsor, but your awards, it's not linked to your sponsorship. That's not what you're saying. That's what you're saying here.
No, I said that we sponsor the awards.
Yes,
even when we don't have
and has never been conditioned.
I'm not talking about sponsorship from the awardees. I'm talking about corporate Ghana sponsorship.
Okay.
So if corporate Ghana do not support the awards or do not support the event, we still go ahead to make sure it happens because it's our baby.
No,
and we will not see it die.
So for the
we make sure we
doubt,
work hard, pull monies from elsewhere, other resources to make it happen.
This is a public forum, and the reason why this question is important is also possibly the use of taxpayers' money. And this question is fundamental. So you're saying that all the state institutions all the public officers who participated, none of their institutions, none of them sponsored the event or paid for a table, categorically.
Yes, and yes, and yes.
Okay.
So you can speak to all of them.
Evans, can I
again speak to all those who received the awards, those who couldn't come, or those who have traveled and sent reps to come and represent them? You can speak to them.
Okay.
Find out from them if they ever paid a peswa, a dime. And again, Evans, I said to you and I mentioned to you, this is the award for Professor.
You've shown that, or Prince, you've shown us already.
This is the award for Professor White.
Yes.
Which
Prince,
was already prepared for him to come and receive.
You showed that already.
So
and
if
I'll
indeed
go to...
it was tied, Evans, please let me land.
Yeah, you showed that already. That point was made emphatically.
If indeed it was tied to him.
And I need to ask you though, before I come to Prof and also both Profs and Franklin, before I wrap up, the presidency has issued a statement directing the ministers not to participate in yours and others like yours. Give me your quick reaction to that before I get the others in.
Well, Evans, the president is the biggest deal in this country. The president, when the president speaks, what can I say? Me, I'm just like a drop in an ocean when it comes to the powers of the president. But I would want to plead again and again and again. These awards are not done to just make these individuals feel they have arrived, as Professor White said. No, he got it all wrong. The purpose is not for them to feel big, to make them feel that they have arrived and then pull up the brakes. The purpose is to encourage them. You see, for those who won the award on that night, the excitement on their face told me that if they were doing 3 things, or they had done 3 things, they were going out there to do 5 or 6 more.
Okay, and we saw those who were dancing and those who were happy, came with their families, and we saw that. Now let me quickly wrap up by bringing in Professor Why you had something to say?
Well, do you mind listening to just a bit of the engagement of due diligence between himself and my staff?
I'm not sure. We have some questions and the ethical questions around playing secretly recorded audios.
That's fine. That's fine.
So our editorial guidelines do not allow that unless I have checked and etc. So I mean, pardon me if I can't play it now. But subsequently, once we pass it through our strict editorial principles and guidelines, we will probably consider playing it tomorrow. Because again, it's in the interest of public transparency and accountability.
That is fair. I mean, thank you very much. I certainly wasn't expecting you to just say, okay, bring it on and let's play it. Do your due diligence, and if for any reason you want a full disclosure, I will make it available to you to play it to Ghanaians. And the reason this is important is that as we speak, we are speaking to the entire nation. And matters of this nature, there are various points of view. It was his word against what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that luckily enough, whatever it is, whatever engagements or encounters we have had with him are on record, and that we can make that available so that Ghanaians will make the judgment. I wouldn't make the judgment. Ghanaians will make the judgment for themselves. These things should concern us, frankly speaking, because already we are concerned about, governance generally in this country. And what we shouldn't be encouraging is for people to try to do business out of the state. I don't really know why anybody wants to commercialize the crave for validation and public applause by manufacturing all kinds of awards. I have seen the plaques and the things that have been shown. Some of these things are bought from China Mall. Go to China Mall, you'll see them over there. If I want some of these plaques, I'll walk to China Mall and go and take it. They come and put it in my office or put it in my...
That's very funny.
Do I need somebody to, tell me that I have an award, I should come and pay 25,000 or 50,000 sponsorship and then get this? And to the extent that that particular aspect of this thing is being denied, I really, really will hope that you will check with your internal processes and validate whether whatever we have in terms of the audio recordings can be made available to Ghanaians so that we will know why this is being done. Finally, Evans, I don't know Mr. McCain from anywhere. I have never encountered him before. I don't know about his organization. So to that extent, I had no business whatsoever just basically trying to kind of run his organization down or tell a lie on his organization or throw them under the bus or anything of the sort. And so I am making this appeal, or I'm raising this awareness with the clearest of conscience that, look, the road on which we are traveling, like I said, we've been in power for 1 year. And seriously speaking, apart from the fact that the economy appears to have stabilized and things are beginning to pick up slowly, we can't start applauding ourselves as if we have arrived. We haven't arrived. So to people awarding us all over the place, left, right, center, it's of great concern to me because it may enter into people's head as if we have achieved so much when we haven't really achieved that much. And Ghanaians gave President Mahama their trust and their confidence, and he has also recognized us, called us to come and work with him. The least we could do is to do these kinds of things that would disappoint Ghanaians and disappoint him and dent his legacy. And so it is in the spirits of this that I decided that let me take what I will call maybe the risk and raise this public awareness so that we can nip this in the mud. And I'm very grateful that the presidency has, as a matter of fact, acted swiftly. And I'm sure that will bring some finality to this. As I have seen other people, commented, there is also the question of degrees. I mean, people who are buying degrees all over the place. There is also the issue about people who are parading themselves as experts for capacity building. There is so much in the public sector that if we sit quietly and watch, we can do away with and save the public a lot of funds.
Will SIGA be interested in looking into whether some of the agencies under you may have expended public funds in sponsorship of this award and others? And because he denies it categorically, but of course, this is one that the president is involved. Would SIGA be interested in looking into it to ascertain whether indeed public funds may have been expended?
The entities that SIGA oversees would normally send us their financial reports quarterly, and to the extent that this is a big issue, if it reflects in the account, we will flag it and then raise it. But of course, you know how accountants do that thing.
Indeed.
The possibility that you may not see it, because of the issue that I already. I have also heard some people discuss this under the issue of corporate social responsibility. Please, this has nothing to do with corporate social responsibility. This is somebody basically running a business by riding on people's crave for validation, and we must call it for what it is. Professor, I think that it is important that we also verify whether indeed any public funds have been spent on this or not.
Yeah, and let me come in with Professor Kwesi Prempeh. So now we have a full picture, I believe, including the president's own indication to us that we should rest assured that he's going to do a much thorough assessment of his ministers, and we'll be told which of the ministers will stay and which ministers will go based on the criteria he lays out. Give me your thoughts, your closing thoughts, reflections, everything you've heard, and where the policy conversation should go from here.
Yeah, I think one of the issues that emerged from Mr. McKay's intervention, and I'm happy that it didn't degenerate into something ugly, was this claim that Dr. Pesa White's op-ed piece may have been informed by some, quiet rivalry between himself and one of his colleagues in government. And that point itself, I think, goes to the initial comment I made, that schemes of this kind that try to do an implicit ranking of peers within government can destroy the esprit de corps, and that is necessary for government to work as a cohesive team. So when you do these schemes, whether or not you intend them to be, these are implicit rankings of peers, even though, Greater Accra is vastly different from, Western North. The issues are different. Sometimes you don't know whether you are ranking Greater Accra vis-a-vis this minister vis-a-vis the past one. Maybe that's even a more logical ranking than within the same regime ranking this one and the minister from, OT What's the connection, right? Between, so even the methodology, somehow it breaks down when you begin to look at it that way, But so I think I don't have a problem with, these award schemes in other sectors, whatever. Once you move into the public sector, it can complicate governance, and that for me is my problem. And I think that the conversation here validates that concern of mine, that when you have this kind of stuff going on within a government that is supposed to have, to work cohesively, to have some collective responsibility for the work that's going on, people are supposed to work with each other, are supposed to, driving feuds and lines between them, that it can destroy something. Besides that, it might complicate, as I said, the president's own management of his or her personnel, because the view that you hold of this person's performance may be vastly different from what the president has gathered. And yet, because some of these things can create, in terms of, it might signal that this person is popular with a particular segment of the public and the like, it might try the president's hand, even if he intended to take a certain decision here or there. So for me, I think that we must draw the line at, these things can go on, but when it enters the domain of ministers and stuff like that, there must be some rules around it. Like I said, I don't have a problem with discrete awards for particular acts. You did exceptional work doing this particular thing. So maybe when the floods came, this particular organization showed great initiative. They saved this number of lives. They intervened here. Those kinds of discrete acts that do not bring in these implicit rankings, some of them are fine. I mean, and we have to note that people go out of, do exceptional things in public service who are not noted sometimes. People go beyond the call of duty and do certain things. Some ministers may be doing innovative things. And I would actually, I didn't see innovation among the criteria in the president's the new rankings. But I think that innovation is also important, especially if you intend to reset some ways of doing things. The old way must change. We must do things differently. So I welcome the presidency's response. And I think it's important that if this is what is going to come out of it, then the whatever, whether it's a scandal or whether it's a crisis or whatever you call it, has been used profitably. At least we now have the presidency on notice that people really would like to see some objective criteria on the basis of which ministers are assessed, and it would be helpful if that was actually something that came out of this.
And Prof, just as we wrap up, the presidency says that we should expect a comprehensive review of the performance. Is it your expectation that the presidency should publish first the criteria, and then this review, once done, we must see the details, and then the outcomes of this particular review? How transparent must the presidents be in carrying out what they are promising us now?
Because I think it would be easier for me to argue for transparency, say within the SOE sector, than say within the ministerial ranks themselves, because the job of a minister has all kinds of aspects, with some of them very intimately political, where it may not be a matter of public knowledge what's certain things going on. But for SOEs, for example, I actually think that SIGA's leadership in this area would be important. I think that these kinds of awards in the public sector for CEOs, for example, undermine things like board, corporate governance structures, the board's oversight of the CEO, SIGA's own work, the relevant ministry's own assessment. So again, it's the governance aspect. It complicates, it might complicate executive governance, corporate governance, and for me, that's the worry, right? We need people to deliver on their mandates. We need certain reporting lines to be very clear who responds to what. We need, if you are awarding somebody's, again, I don't want to be heard to be saying that this industry must collapse. People do exceptional things, and they should be noted. whether it comes in the form of an award or in a write-up or whatever, people do exceptional things, they innovate, they do things like that, those discrete acts, we should mention them. But the moment you get into these kinds of implicit rankings of peers within government, and it means that next time you come to me, I'm the minister for this, and you need something from me, I may not cooperate with you because you were going to take credit for yourself individually. That's not the way government's supposed to work. So I'm happy that the government sees this as a matter of concern, because it does, in fact, mess with the collective responsibility of cabinet and ministers. It does, in fact, mess with this ministerial answerability to a single principal, and it does really, it has a risk of distorting the management of the government personnel. But whether or not they should publish the ministerial one, I mean, I'm a bit agnostic on that one. I haven't thought about this seriously. I think the CEO's one, yes. I mean, I think we should really have clear guidelines and KPIs on how these CEOs are performing. Some of them manage resources where the cost of failure could be very catastrophic for the economy. I mean, some of these SOEs are sitting on resources that constitute about, if you put them together, maybe 20-25% of our GDP. Any systemic failure in any one or two of these things could throw the economy into a tailspin, and we should have very clear ways of measuring and holding them accountable for the work that's been entrusted to them. And I think SIGA, together with government and the responsible ministries, should really be helped to define the parameters of these kinds of things, so that people are not frolicking, looking for praise for themselves left and right, when in fact the core business of the state remains undone.
Yeah, Prof, I'm grateful. And frankly, I know you've been on, I know you have a lot to say. If you can do that in 30 seconds for me, I'm very grateful. Very briefly, summarize it for me.
Oh, well, I think this has been an interesting engagement. My only advice for Prince is that he should probably, if he wants to stay in this business, he should probably get the public along. I didn't feel this was what he did, and I think he also needs to get some real experts actually guiding him. I think it's a good thing. Praise is a bit okay, but I think it should be done orderly and respectfully. Frankly, I don't think he did that. So he should learn to accommodate some of these feedback, and then he will do better.
Oh, and Lateef, this is an industry that you also play in, and so this obviously has thrown a spotlight on it. You've had a conversation. Would this lead to any reforms in the way that industry operates?
I believe strongly. I mean, the key point takeaway is not all award schemes are the same. There must be sanity, there must be reforms, because there are a lot of award schemes that don't have the necessary structures, to be in the industry. So the real conversation should be about standards, credibility, transparency, and impact. And the conversation should be about organizations having the right structures. When I talk about the structures, I walked you through the structures that we feel could make an award scheme quite reasonable. So that, for me, should be the focus, because, we need to recognize excellence across board, which is being done everywhere in the world. We need to. And what we need to put in place to be able to achieve that need to be put in place.
Okay,
I agree that's a problem.
I'm grateful.
We need to reform.
Prince Lateef, Prof. Professor White, thanks for joining us to clarify a few things that have been said. Also, Prof. HKC Prempe and Franklin. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Ghana's coastline is 550 kilometers long. About 7.5 million people live along the coast of Ghana. This has made the interaction of man with the ocean unavoidable, but this friendly relationship seems to be turning hostile due to man's activities such as the dumping of plastic waste into the ocean. The existential threat to lives and property along the coast. Also of grave concern is beach sand mining.
Yes, no warriors for you. Here be our galamsey. Here is our rare Accra galamsey for you.
Interestingly, some people living along the coast are now seeing sand as their galamsey or sand winning as their galamsey, which is very unfortunate.
In this documentary, we explore how the illegal practice of sand mining is worsening the existential threat of climate change and rising sea levels.
In my time now, I'll be 46 years guy. I was born 1976, 12 February. I'm from Jamestown, British Accra. I know many things in Accra. The time I start beach camp, that I was 6 years. People they collect sand, I grow, see the sand, the sand be Gary, government leave for us.
It's a crime, it's criminal. EPA will not permit and has not permitted any sand winning activity along the coastal line, let alone building physical infrastructure that can cause so much damage.
The sun is up here at the Kolegona beach. It's always a perfect time for people to bask in the sun, play games, and cool off in the ocean. Many people usually throng this beach on weekends, but not today. Only a few people are here. Filthy, polythene-ridden beaches may be driving beach lovers away. But even more worrying are the activities of these individuals here, engaging in sand mining, robbing the sea of its buffer in broad daylight. They scoop the beach sand into several sacks and sell the sacks of sand for construction works. Although beach sand mining is banned in Ghana, the activity is still rife. It will be very easy to arrest people who mine sand at the beach. But just like many other laws, enforcement is always a problem. Saki Otokuno has lived here his entire life. He and several others earn their incomes pillaging the sandy white beaches of Ghana's coastline. According to him, the sand is a gift from heaven that will never deplete.
Sand is the sand way they be our food. It be Accra people them our food. Ghana people will be our food. If you go away we not get nothing, we they can't take the sand, go sell some.
Beach sand is considered by these illegal miners as not strictly belonging to anyone. The relative abundance of this resource, coupled with unemployment and cultural misconceptions, have worsened the erosion of the coast.
How the people they chop the sand government with the beg leave us for us. So because your people they chop galamsey, we talk, they don't hear. Let dig the sand. Then the sand inside get road. But sometimes if they don't make about they dig the sand inside. So which will they dig and get more money to feed ourselves. So leave the sand matter for us.
People still think in the cornucopian era where they think natural resources are bound. They are there to be used and can never get finished. But the New World Order has traversed through protectionism, conservationism. Now we are in sustainable development and sustainable management of these resources.
Jonah is a fisherman here at Kolegona, but he occasionally collects sand for sale. To earn some more money, he mines beach sand and makes cement blocks for sale. Jonah claims many buildings around Kolegona and its environs were built using the sea sand. He downplays the impact of their illegal activities on the coastline.
ayake kenu ba gba wona kejo woni ma inu ona na soso ke wona gba mo egba omo kin so ke jiga ni ba ma mi e o wa nyi shi water okay fa me ka yu ake shia na lu o do jino ni ani so ba ma ami pi na me mama chuje ma mi abi ama ga shi ko shia pe jino ni akemalu onye ka ma ga je so jino ni fiti oni bi edile wo we sha so jino ni ikla o.
It's unfortunate if people should talk about not seeing or feeling the impacts, because the impacts are clear and clear every day. There are damages and loss of lives and properties when the tidal waves occur. You remember Keta, very bad experience. So the effects are there, clear and glare for people to see.
Close to the site where these illegal sand miners operate, the cliff base is badly exposed to wave attacks. Bedrocks are visible, making it dangerous for swimming. The natural defense system to counter the sea waves is disturbed as a result of sand mining. Although the people insist the sand replenishes itself, experts say once the sand is collected, it cannot be restored. Professor Akufo-Addo is the director of the Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana.
Sand winning is a major problem because you can't imagine a coastal area without sand. Sand is a major part of the entire coastal systems. And the ocean thrives on sand. What I mean is that you have the sand, which comes and the sand being carried away. So sand comes into the system, and sand is carried away from the system. So the